You're sitting here thinking, I'm crazy for suggesting that losing your job could be the best thing that ever happened to you. You're worried about your mortgage, your kids' education, your retirement plan. But let me ask you something. When did we decide that slowly dying inside for 40 years was a good retirement strategy? When did we convince ourselves that trading our dreams for dental insurance was a fair deal? The corporate world has sold us a beautiful lie. That giving up our authenticity for a regular paycheck is somehow noble, that sacrificing our passion for a position is somehow wise. The phone call lasted exactly 92 seconds. That's all it took to shatter 15 years of what I thought was security, stability, and certainty. We're restructuring. Your position has been eliminated, effective immediately. The words hung in the air like smoke. After a fire, choking, suffocating, making it impossible to think clearly. You know that feeling, don't you? That moment when your world stops spinning and everything you build seems to crumble around you. Maybe it wasn't a job loss for you. Perhaps it was a relationship ending, a business failing, or a dream slipping through your fingers. Whatever it was, that gut-wrenching feeling of loss is universal. It's part of our shared human. But here's what fascinates me. Why do some people crash and burn, while others rise from these ashes stronger than ever? What's the difference between those who let job loss define them and those who use it as a catalyst for transformation? The truth might surprise you. It's not about skills, qualifications, or even experience. It's about something far more fundamental, our relationship with change itself. We've been conditioned to view job loss as failure, as an ending. But what if we've been looking at it all wrong? Let me share something with you. In nature, endings are never really endings. When leaves fall from trees in autumn, they're not failing. They're participating in a cycle of renewal. When a caterpillar dissolves inside its cocoon, it's not dying, it's transforming. Yet somehow we've convinced ourselves that losing a job is the end of the world. Right now, some of you might be thinking, easy for you to say, you don't have bills to pay, a family to support, a mortgage hanging over your head. And you're absolutely right. The practical challenges of job loss are real and shouldn't be minimized. But here's what I've learned from studying human potential and resilience for decades. Our greatest limitations aren't our circumstances. They're our thoughts about our circumstances. How many times in your life has something that initially seemed terrible turned out to be a blessing in disguise? How often has a closed door led you to an open window you never would have noticed otherwise? We're living in an age where the average person changes careers. Not just jobs, but entire careers, multiple times in their lifetime. The concept of a job for life is as outdated as a typewriter in a smartphone world, yet our emotional attachment to job security remains stuck in the past. If you knew with absolute certainty that losing your job would lead you to something better, would you still fear it? If you could see into the future and witness how this apparent setback would strengthen you, would you resist it so much? The problem isn't job loss itself. It's our interpretation of what it means. We've been programmed to equate our job with our worth, our salary with our value, our position with our identity. But you are not your job title. You never were. You are not your salary. You're not your position in the corporate hierarchy. You are a force of nature, a creative being with unlimited potential. Your job is merely one expression of that potential at a particular point in time. When that expression changes, it doesn't diminish who you are. It simply creates space for a new expression to emerge. Every single person who has ever achieved something remarkable has faced setbacks, failures, and losses along the way. But here's what separates them from the rest. They understood that success isn't about avoiding failures. When you lose a job, you haven't lost your skills, your experience, your knowledge, or your potential. You haven't lost your ability to learn, to grow, to adapt, or to create. In fact, you might have gained something invaluable, the freedom to reinvent yourself. The universe has a peculiar way of forcing us out of our comfort zones when we've outgrown them but are too afraid to leave. Sometimes what feels like being pushed off a cliff is actually being launched into flight. But let's get practical for a moment. What do you do when you're in the midst of this crisis? When the bills are piling up and fear is knocking at your door? First, acknowledge your feelings. It's normal to feel scared, angry, betrayed, or lost. These emotions don't make you weak. They make you human. However, don't unpack and live there. Feel your feelings, but don't let them become your address. Your emotions are like weather patterns passing through the sky of your consciousness. The sky remains unchanged regardless of whether it's experiencing sunshine, rain, or storms. What have I always wanted to do but was too afraid to try? What skills have I developed that could be valuable in different contexts? What problems do I love solving? What kind of work makes me lose track of time? The answers to these questions might lead you to possibilities you've never considered. Maybe losing your job isn't the end of your story. Maybe it's finally the beginning of the story you were meant to live all along. I've seen people who lost high-paying corporate jobs go on to start successful businesses based on their hobbies. I've witnessed executives who were laid off discover their passion for teaching and find more fulfillment in education than they ever did in the boardroom. I've watched professionals use their severance pay to fund the dreams they'd been too afraid to pursue while they had a secure job. The key is to shift your perspective from why is this happening to me to what is this trying to teach me. Every crisis carries within it the seeds of opportunity, but you have to be willing to plant and nurture those seeds. You're probably wondering why we don't see more success stories after job loss. The answer lies in a simple but profound truth. Most people spend more time fighting against what has happened than focusing on what could happen next. They remain stuck in the story of loss rather than writing the story of possibility. Let's talk about something that might feel uncomfortable at first. The role of ego in our reaction to job loss. Our ego loves stability, predictability, and status. It crafts elaborate stories about who we are based on our professional roles. When that role disappears, the ego panics. It tells us we're nothing without our title, our corner office, our company email address. But here's the liberating truth. You are not your ego's stories. You never were. Think about the times in your life when you felt most alive, most authentic, most truly yourself. Were those moments tied to your job title? Or were they connected to something deeper? Moments of genuine connection, creation, or content. The pain of job loss often comes not from the loss itself, but from our attachment to who we thought we were supposed to be. We mourn not just the paycheck, but the identity we built around our professional role. This attachment is what keeps us stuck, preventing us from seeing the possibilities that lie ahead. Have you ever noticed how children respond to setbacks? They cry, they feel disappointed, but then they move on often within minutes. They haven't yet learned to attach their worth to external circumstances. They haven't been conditioned to believe that a setback defines them. What if we could reclaim some of that childlike resilience? Let me share a universal truth that might challenge your current thinking. Everything you've achieved in your life so far started from a point of uncertainty. Your first steps, your first words, your first day at school, your first job, all began with not knowing how things would turn out. Uncertainty isn't your enemy. It's the foundation of all possibility. Think about the technology you use every day. Every innovation that makes your life easier started because someone lost or left their job or because an existing solution wasn't working anymore. Every major breakthrough in human history came from disruption of the status quo. Right now, your job loss feels like an unwelcome disruption. But what if it's actually an invitation to reassess, to realign, to recreate yourself in a way that's more authentic to who you've become? You see, we often outgrow our jobs before we lose them. We feel it in the Monday morning dread, in the quiet sighs during endless meetings, in the nagging feeling that we're capable of more. But we stay held captive by the golden handcuffs of comfort and security. Sometimes the universe steps in and breaks those handcuffs for us. Every skill you've developed, every challenge you've overcome, every relationship you've built, they're all transferable assets. They don't disappear when your job does. In fact, they might be more valuable in a different context than they ever were in your previous role. That here's where most people get stuck. They try to rebuild exactly what they lost. They rush to find a similar job in a similar company with a similar title. They're so focused on replacing what's gone that they miss the opportunity to upgrade their entire life experience. What if, instead of trying to rebuild the past, you use this time to design your future? What if you saw this period not as unemployment, but as self-employment in your own life's reconstruction? Let's do something different right now. Close your eyes for a moment, take a deep breath. Now, instead of thinking about what you've lost, focus on what you've been given. Time. Time to think, time to plan, time to reinvent, time to align your work with your values. When was the last time you had this gift? The most successful people I've met don't just bounce back from setbacks. They bounce forward. They use adversity as a springboard to leap into something better than what they had before. They understand that rock bottom can be the solid foundation on which to build a new life. But let's be honest, this isn't easy. It requires courage to face uncertainty. It demands faith in yourself when others might doubt you. It takes wisdom to distinguish between fear-based decisions and growth-oriented choices. Write down everything you believe about yourself in relation to work and success. Now, question each belief. Who gave you these beliefs? Are they actually true? Do they serve your growth? You might be surprised to discover how many of your limiting beliefs are simply hand-me-downs from parents, teachers, society, or past experiences. The world of work is changing faster than ever before. The skills that mattered yesterday might be obsolete tomorrow. But there's something that never becomes obsolete. Your ability to adapt, to learn, to create value in new ways. Think about this. Every major company in existence today was started by someone who either lost their job, quit their job, or never had a traditional job to begin with. Every groundbreaking invention came from someone who refused to accept the status quo. You might be thinking, but I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm not an inventor. I'm just trying to make a living. Here's the truth. Entrepreneurship isn't just about starting businesses. It's about taking ownership of your life, about seeing opportunities where others see obstacles, about creating value in whatever form calls to you. The job market doesn't determine your worth. You do. Your potential isn't limited by your employment status. It's limited only by your vision for yourself and your willingness to step into uncertainty with courage and create. Let's talk about something that might sound counterintuitive at first. The greatest gift of losing your job might be the opportunity to lose your illusions along with it. The illusion of security. The illusion of knowing exactly where you'll be in 5 years. The illusion that your worth is determined by your position or paycheck. When these illusions shatter, something remarkable becomes possible. Clarity. Real, raw, unfiltered clarity about what truly matters to you. About what you really want to do with your precious time on this earth. About the impact you want to have on the world. But clarity without action is just wishful thinking. So let's explore what it means to take meaningful action during this transition period. First, understand that action doesn't always mean rushing to send out hundreds of resumes or frantically network. Sometimes the most powerful action you can take is to be still, to listen to your inner wisdom, to allow your next steps to emerge organically. Have you noticed how our society has conditioned us to be human doings rather than human beings? We're so focused on constant activity that we've lost touch with our natural rhythm of reflection and action. This period of unemployment can be an opportunity to restore that balance. Think about the last time you made a major decision under pressure. How did that work out? Now think about decisions you made when you were calm, centered, and clear. See the difference. This principle applies to your current situation. The quality of your next move depends on the quality of your current state of mind. Let me share something profound about human potential. But we all have within us a guidance system more sophisticated than any GPS. It's that quiet voice that whispers yes or no to opportunities. That feeling in your gut that tells you when something is. But we've become so accustomed to external validation that we've forgotten how to trust this internal compass. Your job loss might be the universe's way of forcing you to recalibrate this compass. To remember who you are beyond your professional identity, to reconnect with dreams you tucked away in the name of practicality. Every person who ever achieved something meaningful started from a point of disadvantage. They faced obstacles, setbacks, and failures. But what set them apart wasn't their circumstances. It was their response to those circumstances. You might be thinking, that's great in theory, but I have real responsibilities. I can't just sit around waiting for inspiration. And you're absolutely right. This isn't about avoiding practical action. It's about taking inspired action instead of desperate action. Instead of asking who will hire me, ask what value can I create? Instead of thinking what jobs are available, think what problems can I solve? Instead of wondering what can I get, consider what can I give? These questions shift your energy from scarcity to abundance, from victim to creator, from powerless to powerful. They transform you from a job seeker into an opportunity creator. Let's do something radical right now. Take out a piece of paper, write down every skill, talent, and experience you've gained throughout your life. Not just from your job, but from everything you've ever done. Include hobbies, volunteer work, life experiences, challenges you've overcome. Now look at that list through fresh eyes. Each item represents a tool in your toolkit, a potential way to create value for others. The question isn't whether these tools are valuable, it's how you can apply them in new and innovative ways. The skills that made you successful in your previous job might be even more valuable in a completely different context. Your project management skills could help nonprofits maximize their impact. Your sales experience could help small businesses thrive. Your leadership abilities could transform community organizations. But here's where most people get stuck. They wait for permission. Permission to reinvent themselves. Permission to try something new. Permission to step off the traditional career path. Here's the truth. The only permission you need is your own. Think about the regrets people share at the end of their lives. They rarely regret taking chances. They regret the chances they didn't take, the dreams they didn't pursue, the possibilities they were too afraid to explore. Your job loss hasn't just opened a door. It's knocked down a wall. The wall between who you were pretending to be and who you really are, between what you were doing to make a living and what you could be doing to make a life. This brings us to another crucial point, the difference between reacting and responding. When we react to job loss, we operate from fear. We grab the first opportunity that comes along, even if it's not right for us. We sacrifice our long-term fulfillment for short-term security. But when we respond to job loss, we operate from wisdom. We take time to assess not just our next job, but our next chapter. We use this transition as an opportunity to align our work with our values, our purpose, our authentic selves. Every event in your life is neutral until you assign it meaning. Job loss is no exception. You get to decide what this means for you. Is it a tragedy or an opportunity? An ending or a beginning? A crisis or a catalyst? The meaning you choose will shape your actions, and your actions will shape your future. Choose wisely. Choose consciously. Choose from possibility rather than fear. Your career is not a straight line. It's not a ladder to climb. It's more like a garden to tend. Sometimes you need to prune back growth in one area to allow for new growth in another. Sometimes you need to uproot everything and start fresh. Sometimes what looks like death is actually dormancy, a necessary period of rest before new growth emerges. Let's talk about something that many find uncomfortable, the relationship between money and self-worth. When you lose your income, it's easy to feel like you've lost your value. But this is a dangerous illusion that keeps many trapped in cycles of fear and scarcity thinking. Money is a tool, a medium of exchange, a way of measuring value in the marketplace. But it's not a measure of your worth as a human being. Your bank account might be temporarily empty, but your potential remains infinite. Your wallet might be lighter, but your spirit, your creativity, your ability to contribute, these remain unchanged. Think about the most valuable things you've received in your life. The most meaningful moments, the most profound insights, the most powerful connections, were they directly tied to money, or did they come from something deeper, something that can't be measured in financial terms? This isn't about denying the practical importance of money. It's about putting it in its proper perspective. When we separate our sense of self-worth from our net worth, we free ourselves to make decisions based on growth rather than fear. It flows toward those who maintain an abundance mindset, even in times of apparent scarcity. This isn't magical thinking. It's practical psychology. When you operate from a mindset of abundance, you see opportunities others miss. You approach challenges with creativity rather than desperation. You make decisions that attract rather than repel success. Every skill you've developed, every challenge you've overcome, every insight you've gained, these are forms of wealth that can't be taken away. They're assets that appreciate rather than depreciate over time. The question is, how can you invest these assets in ways that create new value? Let's do something powerful right now. Take a moment to list every resource available to you. Not just financial resources, everything. Your knowledge, your network, your experiences, your strengths, your passion, your time, your energy, your creativity. Now, look at that list and ask yourself, am I really starting from zero, or am I starting with a foundation of resources that many would envy? This brings us to another crucial understanding: the difference between your job and your work. Your job was what you did for a paycheck. Your work is what you're here to do, your contribution to the world, your unique way of creating value. Sometimes losing your job creates space to discover or recommit to your true worth. Think about this. Every major transition in your life has required you to let go of something familiar to embrace something new. Learning to walk meant letting go of crawling. Learning to read meant letting go of being read. Growing up meant letting go of childhood securities. What if this job loss is simply another growth transition asking you to let go of an outdated version of yourself? But here's where many get stuck. They try to skip the transition phase. They rush to replace what they've lost instead of allowing themselves to be transformed by the experience. Nature doesn't work that way. A butterfly can't emerge until the caterpillar surrenders to the chrysalis phase. New growth can't sprout until the seed breaks open. This doesn't mean sitting idle. It means engaging in purposeful preparation. Use this time to upgrade your skills, not just your resume. Invest in your personal growth, not just your professional development. Build relationships, not just networks. Create value, not just job applications. Each morning, ask yourself, how can I create value today? Not how can I get a job, but how can I contribute? This subtle shift moves you from a position of neediness to a position of power. It transforms you from a job seeker into a value creator. Consider starting a project that showcases your skills and passion, even if it's not immediately profitable. Write that blog. Start that podcast. Create that online course. Build that portfolio. Not as a desperate attempt to attract employers, but as a genuine expression of your expertise and enthusiasm. Authentic value creation has a way of attracting opportunities. Remember this? The job market doesn't create or destroy value. It merely recognizes and rewards value that already exists. Your task is not to fit yourself into existing job descriptions, but to demonstrate the unique value you bring to any situation. Let's talk about fear. Not to eliminate it, but to understand its proper role. Fear is meant to be a consultant, not a controller. Listen to its concerns, acknowledge its warnings, but don't let it make your decisions. The presence of fear doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It often means you're doing something important. Think about the people you admire most. The ones who've achieved remarkable things, they felt fear too, but they understood something crucial. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision that something else is more important than fear. What's more important to you than your fear? What vision of your future is compelling enough to pull you through this challenging transition? What contribution do you feel called to make, regardless of whether it fits neatly into a job description? The world doesn't need more people doing jobs they hate. It needs more people bringing their full, authentic selves to work that matters to them. Sometimes job loss is life's way of pushing you toward that authenticity. The more you chase security, the more elusive it becomes. But when you chase growth, opportunity, and contribution, security often shows up as a natural byproduct. Not the false security of a job title, but the real security of knowing you can create value in any circumstance. Your previous job was one channel for expressing your capabilities. Its loss doesn't diminish those capabilities, it just means you need to find or create new channels for expression. Think of yourself as water. If one path is blocked, You don't cease to exist. You find or create new paths to flow. As we move toward our conclusion, let's address the deeper meaning of this transition you're experiencing. Everything in life either grows or dies. There is no standing still. This period of unemployment isn't a pause in your life's journey. It's an integral part of your evolution. Think about how many times in human history major breakthroughs came from what appeared to be breakdowns. How many innovations emerged from necessity? How many discoveries happened because someone was forced out of their comfort zone? Your current situation isn't just a challenge to overcome, it's an opportunity to evolve. Let's talk about something rarely discussed in career conversations, the concept of divine timing. Sometimes what we perceive as bad timing is actually perfect timing. The job loss that feels like an ending might be life's way of creating space for a beginning you couldn't have imagined while you were comfortable in your previous role. Every single person in this room has survived every challenge they've ever faced, every setback, every disappointment, every loss. And not just survived, but gained wisdom, strength, and resilience from these experiences. You're not just a survivor. You're a transformer, someone who can turn adversity into advantage. But transformation requires trust. Not blind faith, but active trust. Trust in your capacity to learn and grow. Trust in your ability to create value. Trust in the unfolding of your unique path. This trust isn't something you find. It's something you practice, especially when circumstances make it challenging. We often untruth about human potential. We often underestimate what we can achieve in the long term while overestimating what we can achieve in the short term. This perspective helps us stay patient during transitions while maintaining confidence in our ultimate success. Take a moment right now to envision yourself 5 years from now looking back at this period. What will you see? A crisis that broke you, or a catalyst that transformed you? A period of loss, or a period of rebirth? The choice is yours. And it's a choice you make not once, but every single day through your thoughts, words, and actions. Let's talk about legacy. Not the kind that gets written on tombstones, but the kind that gets written in lives touched and value created. Your job title was never your legacy. Your legacy is the impact you have on others, the problems you solve, the contribution you make. That legacy continues regardless of your employment status. Think about this. Every person who has ever made a significant impact went through periods of uncertainty, transition, and reinvention. These periods weren't deviations from their path. They were the path. They were the cocoon phases that preceded their emergence as something greater than before. Here's a powerful practice for this transition period. Instead of asking, what should I do? Ask, who am I becoming? This shifts your focus from external circumstances to internal growth. It transforms job search from a desperate, consider starting each day with this declarans. I am not my circumstances. I am my possibilities. Let this be your mantra when doubt creeps in, when fear whispers its limiting messages, when the path ahead seems unclear. The world doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to be present. Present to opportunities, present to possibilities, present to the ways you can serve and create value, even while navigating your own challenges. Your job loss has not diminished your value. It has simply created space for your value to be expressed in new ways. The question isn't whether you have value to offer. It's how you will choose to offer it in this new chapter of your life. Think about water again. When it meets an obstacle, it doesn't stop flowing. It finds new paths. Sometimes it goes around, sometimes over, sometimes under, and sometimes it transforms the obstacle itself. You have the same adaptability within you. You have the same power to flow, to adapt, to transform. Here's what I want you to remember when you leave this room. You are not starting over. You are starting from experience. You are not falling behind. You are stepping back to leap forward. You are not losing your way. You are finding your true. The world needs what you have to offer. Not just your skills and experience, but your unique perspective, your authentic voice, your distinctive way of creating value. Sometimes it takes losing a job to find your true work. As you move forward from here, carry these truths with you. Your worth is not determined by your employment status. Your potential is not limited by your current circumstances. Your future is not defined by your past. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become. Let every rejection become a redirection. Let every closed door become an invitation to find or create a new opening. Let every moment of doubt become an opportunity to demonstrate faith in yourself and your capabilities. Remember that success is not a destination. It's a way of traveling. It's not about reaching a particular position or income level. It's about growing, contributing, and becoming more fully yourself in the process. You are not alone in this journey. Every person who has ever achieved anything meaningful has stood where you stand now, at the crossroads of challenge and opportunity, of fear and courage, of what was and what could be. The question isn't whether you will face obstacles. You will. The question is who you will become as you overcome them. The question isn't whether you will experience doubt. You will. The question is whether you will let that doubt define you or fuel you. As you leave this room today, I want you to take with you not just hope, but conviction. Conviction in your inherent worth. Conviction in your capacity to create value. Conviction in your ability to transform this transition into triumph. Your job loss is not the end of your story. It's simply the end of a chapter. The next chapter is waiting to be written, and you hold the pen. Write it with courage. Write it with authenticity. Write it with the understanding that your greatest contributions may still lie ahead. The world is waiting for what only you can bring. Your job loss hasn't changed that. If anything, it's freed you to bring it in new and more powerful ways. The question isn't whether you will rise again. The question is how high you will soar once you spread your wings. Let this be the moment you stop mourning what you've lost and start embracing what you're gaining. The freedom to reinvent yourself, the opportunity to realign with your true purpose, the chance to create something even more meaningful than what came before. You are not broken. You are breaking through. You are not falling. You are flying. You are not ending. You are beginning. And this beginning holds more potential than any job title ever could. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams and the power of their potential. It belongs to those who understand that every ending is just a beginning in disguise. It belongs to you if you have the courage to claim it. Rise up. Step forward. Your next chapter awaits.